Welcome to Requity Insights, a channel dedicated to documenting our journey to 100 world-class communities. Welcome to today's episode of Recreational Insights. My name is Marma. Today we're going to discuss the difference between RV parks, RV campgrounds, and RV resorts, as well as identify the different guest profiles that you can find within each of these spaces. So these classifications are ever-changing and are strictly to interpret what we've witnessed in the market during our acquisitions of these assets and during our in-house operations. Before we get into the specifics of each type of RV campsite and guest profile, it's important that whether you're viewing this as a possible guest or a future operator, that you understand the questions that you need to ask yourself when deciding which of these spaces you'd like to visit. So the first question you need to ask yourself is location and surrounding. Here's some things to consider. Are your guests looking for a space to park their RV that's convenient for them, mainly within the city limits or off a major highway or interstate? Are they looking for more of a destination location, somewhere within a reasonable distance to a major city, but maybe a maximum 1 or 2 hour drive? Somewhere closer to the water attractions, the mountains, or maybe a state or a national park? Or lastly, are they looking for a one-stop shop, somewhere where they can just pull in and kick up their feet and enjoy everything that they want from their stay in one place without ever needing to get in the car and venture out anywhere? Question number 2, amenities. What amenities, if any, are your guests wanting or needing? Some guests are just looking for bare bones, a place to park in the evening, whereas others want full hookups with swimming pools, Wi-Fi, cell service, bathhouses, and many more. This directly ties to your guest goal and for the purpose of their stay. Are they looking for adventure? Are they looking to work while enjoying nature, to get away, or simply just passing by? Question number 3 is budget. While most RV accommodations will provide a mix of both short and long-term options, the nightly or seasonal rates a guest will pay will vary greatly depending on the answers to the questions above. So understanding your target guest needs as an operator, just helping you understand where you're going to need to be able to price your accommodations to be able to fit your guest budget. So the first type of RV community is an RV park. Now the term RV park represents the initial type of mobile home or RV destination, which came up back in the early 1900s when they were really one and the same. And as the term implies, it was really just meant to be a place to park. Now today we associate RV parks with more of an affordable community or a place to park short term. RV parks are generally a place where people can park their RVs for short or long-term stays. They're usually located just outside of a major city or town. While some RV parks are geared more towards nightly travelers, others offer long-term camping spots, and a few even act like mobile home communities in that sometimes there may only be a select amount of sites for travelers, and there could even be a blend of RVs and mobile homes. So sites at these parks can vary, but sometimes they can be spaced closely together, limiting the room between you and your neighbor, especially when you look at major cities or higher density areas. Physically, you might visualize some of these parks looking like large parking lots with grass spots that sort of separate the spaces. And in general, RV parks will have just the basics that every RV needs without all the fancy amenities that you might find at maybe a campground or a resort. So some can be bare bones as a partial hookup site with partial hookup sites, no bathhouse or no amenities to offer. And we've all seen that sort of stereotypical RV park on the side of the highway. Many RV parks offer discounted rates through programs like Passport America or Good Sam, and some offer weekly and monthly rates. RV parks generally fall on more of the economical side of the spectrum in terms of pricing due to their lack of amenities and their proximity to major attractions. But again, for some people, that's exactly what they're looking for. RV community type number 2 is RV campgrounds. So similar to RV parks, campgrounds also accommodate guests for both the short and long-term stay. RV campgrounds are more closely related to what you'd get if you stay in a national or a state park, except for the fact that privately owned RV campgrounds generally offer more amenities, and they also focus a lot more on the guest experience than a state park would, which might be a little bit more bare bones. But because RV campgrounds are normally located in natural surroundings such as forests or waterfront, you'll often find that they have more privacy there than a traditional RV park. The sites are generally a bit larger at RV campgrounds, but the maneuverability for big rigs can still be difficult depending on the infrastructure provided by the campground. Some have dirt or narrow roads and a lot of trees, which can affect guests that have larger accommodations. This is generally just due to the fact that many of today's campgrounds have been built 30 to 50 years ago, before we had such large campers to accommodate as we do today. So most campgrounds are going to provide full hookups, Wi-Fi, bathhouses, a camp store, some type of food and beverage, pool, sporting areas like volleyball, basketball courts. Some even have hiking or biking trails due to their ability to provide the natural amenities. It isn't uncommon to have things such as a paddle boat, boat rentals, boat storage, golf cart rentals, electronic bikes, and enjoy the natural surrounding. RV campgrounds allow you to enjoy the natural beauty on site with a reasonable amenities package, while generally still providing some sort of local attraction in the vicinity that would draw you to the area. An example of a recognizable RV campground brand would be KOA or the Campgrounds of America. Now, the third type of RV community is your RV resorts. And RV resorts are becoming much more prevalent in today's world as the preferences of the modern camper begin to shift. And we're starting to see a lot of RV resorts being developed currently or have been developed in the last few years, which is something that, as we look back several decades, didn't really exist. So as far as an RV resort, this is really for those that want it all. This includes the cell service, Wi-Fi, nature trails, full hookups, privacy, amenities, and the space. RV resorts can generally provide guests with all of that and more. RV resorts can also accommodate guests for both short-term and long-term stays, but because of their price point and their resort-style nature, they tend to attract more short-term guests looking to come by and enjoy vacation with friends and family. Some RV resorts are truly lavish in their resort style. They'll have from everything from hot tubs to swimming pools, private dinner clubs, and massage therapists. You can really find it all within these spaces. And at the top of the line, we've even seen some that exclusively rent to Class A big rigs. Now, these type of RV resorts will generally be top of the line, often fully paved, concrete sites. They'll have full hookups and plenty of space between the campers to maneuver, again, because they've generally been built a little bit more recently. RV resorts will fall in the more expensive price range due to their all-in-one luxury style offering. The resorts are truly the destination when the guests come to visit. The idea is that when you come to vacation, it's going to take place inside the resort and you don't really need to venture out for anything. An example of a recognizable RV resort brand that's becoming more and more popular today is the Margaritaville resort brand. Now that we've established the different types of RV communities, we now want to get into the 4 different types of RV guests. When you look at an RV community, people are there for all different reasons, and as owner-operators, we've taken it on ourselves to really try to define what are the 4 sort of buckets that make up the general reason that people are going to these communities. And generally, most communities are going to have a mix of different reasons that people are there. So we're going to get into it, but the 4 types you have are short-term recreational, then you have short-term utility, then you have long-term recreational, and then lastly, you have long-term utility purposes. So getting into guest type profile number 1, your short-term recreational guest. Your short-term recreational guest is generally there for vacation, right? I think most people, when they think of RVing, this is what they think of. They think of taking the RV out, going out to a campground or a resort, staying for the weekend, maybe visiting an outdoor destination, and utilizing all the on-site amenities, right? This is just your person that is, instead of taking the typical plane hotel, plane vacation, they take out the RV and go somewhere, usually within a 2-hour drive radius as a short-term recreational guest. The second type of RV guest is someone that's there for short-term utility. Now, short-term utility generally ends up having a little bit of a longer average stay than a short-term recreational guest does, because usually they're going there to be able to accomplish some kind of a job. And this can be something like contractors, right? Maybe they're going for a few weeks at a time to knock out a big project that they've been assigned. Similar contract workers, one of our campgrounds is pretty close to a military base. We have all kinds of short-term utility guests coming in for contract work. You have Amazon workforce, which can go from anywhere between a few weeks to a few months to be there with the purpose of working at the local Amazon plants, and Amazon helps them cover their site rent as a function of that. And you also have traveling nurses, right? So you have or even just you're thinking about your business travel. You know, some people that just travel for business and they prefer to take their RV, and maybe they have a Class B that they can get in and out really easily with, and they'll stay there for utility. So that's your short-term utilities, and these are usually there. Usually these are not people you find as commonly, unless they're doing really well for themselves. You don't find them as commonly at the resort style locations because they're not really there for the amenities. They're more likely to stay at either an RV park or an RV campground. The third type of RV guest is your long-term recreational. Now, this really has been our bread and butter as owner-operators. We probably have the majority of our sites occupied by long-term recreational guests. But these are generally people, we like to think of these as often like a second home. These are for people that they own an RV and maybe they just have found a place that they really love, or maybe they're just tired of driving around and having to pay top dollar for every weekend that they want to take a trip, and they have to haul out their RV. They'd rather leave their RV at a campground or resort that they can go and visit and really begin to establish long-term relationships there. And these are folks that we usually see as oftentimes on the water, because we think of them like affordable lake houses or ocean houses, and especially with insurance prices today, it can be a really, really attractive way to be able to experience having a place on the water without having to deal with all the crazy insurance rates and the things that come along with actually owning a physical structure there on the water. We also see that these are very community oriented. So people here, many times they're here for sometimes entire generations. They can be here for 10, 20, 30 years. And the people that are coming, campgrounds, oftentimes they'll be there to have their kids play together. They'll grow up, they'll pass it down to their kids. And that just becomes the place where they go every summer or every weekend, and they get together and just build a really strong, tight-knit community. So your long-term recreational guests are generally going to be seeking out either campgrounds or resorts, generally depending on their budget or what their appetite is for what they're seeking. And that's because they're going to be there for the amenities, for the experience that the community has to offer. And the last type of guest is your long-term utility-focused guest. And these can vary quite a bit. Some can be there for more of your affordable living situations, which is more common to see in RV parks, as a lot of times as you get closer to the campground or the resort levels, they will actually have restrictions about whether or not you can live full-time in your RV, as many of the professional ownership groups do. But you do see them as affordable living. You could see them there being there for a job that lasts greater than 6 months, and they're there for, maybe it's just there for a few years at a time to be able to handle a temporary living situation or a job. And in today's world, we're actually seeing more people that are there for somewhat for the affordability aspect, but somewhat just for the flexibility aspect of work from home. And they've made the conscious decision to say, hey, I'm going to live in my RV and I'm going to find a campground I love and stay there and be able to move every few years, just like you would with apartment living. So we are seeing that become more common as we have more and more work from home jobs become available. When you look at the long-term utility, similarly to long-term recreation, you usually are looking at annual rates, and the annual rates are usually offered at a pretty healthy discount to what you might pay if you were just simply there for a month-to-month rate. Although long-term utility, I have seen get charged more than long-term recreation, because if they're going to be there all the time, they're going to be putting more stress on the infrastructure, the bathhouse, the utility systems, things along those lines. So sometimes the pricing can vary depending on the reason that someone is there and the amount of usage that they're going to be able to get out of it. So, and long-term utility, again, they're probably not there for resorts. These are more likely to be there at either RV parks or RV campground. And that about sums up the 4 types of RV guest profiles that we generally see out there. Of course, everyone's reason varies for why they're coming out to the RV community, but hopefully that helps give you a general framework that you can work with as you're thinking about who, maybe as an owner-operator, who do you want to attract to your community, or what does this market attract to your community as you're evaluating different opportunities. So we hope this video helped clarify the differences between the different classes of RV accommodations that can be found in today's market, and also help you identify and understand the different guest profiles that are most frequent in these spaces. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Requity Insights, hosted by our team at the Requity Group. You can find recordings of all shows along with our opt-in form to set up a call and view future investment offerings on our company website, therequitygroup.com, also listed in the show notes.